ఇక తమిళనాడు బెంగాల్లో తాను అనుసరించిన విజయాలను సోనియా తర్వాత బీజేపీ యొక్క నేతలను కలుస్తూ వచ్చారు. తాజాగా కాంగ్రెస్ పెద్దలను కలవడం ప్రాధాన్యం సంతరిస్తుంది. నాగేశ్వర్ గారు ఒక పొలిటికల్ అప్డేట్కి సంబంధించిన కీలకమైన అప్డేట్గానే భావించారు. ఎందుకంటే ఇప్పటిదాకా మనం కాంగ్రెస్ పంజాబ్ ఎలక్షన్స్ గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నాం. దగ్గర అవుతున్నారన్న సమాచారాన్ని కాంగ్రెస్ వర్గాలు ఇస్తున్న పరిస్థితి. నిజంగా అదే జరిగితే కాంగ్రెస్ పార్టీకి ప్రస్తుతం ఉన్న పరిస్థితుల్లో ప్రశాంత్ కిషోర్ ఎంతవరకు ఒక ఎస్ఎస్గా మారే అవకాశం ఉంది? కాంగ్రెస్ చెప్తున్న సమస్యలు
Done, guys. Okay. Then quickly take the screenshot of these notes. Each and every point I explain over here. Just read this and then take the screenshot. Firstly read and then take the screenshot. No, Santosh, you will get that time you will get the error then. If you are using by mistakenly, if in HTML file you are going to place the method equals to post, and here in servlet class if you are overriding the toGet method, then you will get the 4 not by you error. Santosh. Scroll down. Is it done? Is it done? Then I will scroll down. Okay, and then Done, guys? Okay, done then. So here I gave two questions like write the difference between request dispatcher and send redirect, and write the difference between generic and HTTP servlet. So now I will tell you what is the differences there, generic and HTTP, but it's your job. You have to write the difference between request dispatcher and send redirect method. Okay, guys. So now, okay, Dinesh Kumar, at the end of the class, I will show you. So now, the next topic we are going to learn, that is session. The next topic we are going to learn, that is session. Now, what is session? Why we are using session? Each and everything we will learn. So, guys, first thing, session is the major difference between the your particular generic and HTTP servlet. One of the major difference between the HTTP and the generic servlet, it is the session, because daily I think you are asking me, ma'am, when we have to use the generic servlet and when we are going for the HTTP servlet. So guys, today you will get the solution for that when you are going to use the generic and HTTP servlet. So session. Okay, this session concept, okay, if you want to provide the session to your application, that time you are going to use the HTTP servlet class. That time you are going to use the HTTP servlet class. Why, ma'am? Why we are going to use only HTTP servlet class? Because guys, by using the HTTP servlet class only, you can provide the to your application. Okay, and coming towards the generic servlet class, generic servlet can't provide the session to your application. Generic, it is a one of the feature of your application, like one feature is multi-threaded application, is a multi-threaded or single threaded. In the same way, it is the another feature of your application, that is session. So this session concept you can provide by using the HTTP servlet, but you can't provide by using the generic servlet. It is not possible by using the generic servlet. So ma'am, how we can do that? What is the session? Firstly tell us. No, okay, got it. That the major difference between the HTTP servlet and generic servlet, it is a session. Like we can provide the session for the HTTP servlet, but we can't create the session for the generic servlet. But what is this session? What is this session? So guys, session is nothing but session is nothing but session is one of the time interval. Session is the time interval which is which is provided by the programmer to the user for performing the particular task. Okay. So whenever programmer is going to give the time interval to the user, why programmer is going to give the time interval to the user? To perform the task. To perform the task, programmer is going to give the time interval to the user. Now, ma'am, what is time interval? Why programmer is going to give that? In easy way, guys. Time interval between the login and logout. Time interval between the login and logout. Okay. If you take the example of internet banking, okay. If you take the example of internet banking, over there, SBI is going to provide you the 15 minutes of time if you want to perform any operation, any task on that particular website. Suppose if you want to withdraw, sorry, not withdraw, if you want to transfer the money, if you want to change your mobile number, if you want to change your name, if you want to check the transaction, then for this particular task, SBI is going to giving you the particular time. Okay, 15 minutes of time. Within that 15 minutes of time only, you have to perform that particular task, or else you will get the message as session time out. Session time out means what? Already programmer gave you the time interval between the login and logout. That time will get start whenever you are going to log in inside the SBI application. That time gets start. And if within that time, if you are going to log out, it's fine, no problem at all. But within that 15 minutes, if you are unable to perform your task, if you are unable to perform your task, that time you will get the message, call it as session time out. You can take the example of examination. Okay, for your examination also, programmer is going to give you the specific period of time, like 1 hour, 1.5 hour, or 2 hours. Within that 2 hours, if you submitted the exam, then okay. Okay, after login into the exam, your exam will be start. And within that particular period, if you complete the exam, okay, you will get that message like you can submit the exam. But if within that particular period, if you are unable to complete the exam, then automatically you will get the message, automatically that exam gets stopped, and you will get the message like session timeout. You can take the example of OTP also. Okay, for the OTP also, that particular programmer is going to set the timing. Okay, this OTP is valid for the 4 minutes only. Means within a 4 minutes, if you enter the OTP, then good. You can you can place your order and all that things. But after, if you are unable to enter the OTP within a 4 minutes, that time you will get the message, call it as session. So indirectly, session means what? Session is nothing but it is a particular time interval between the login and logout. Okay, and this time interval is given by the programmer to the user. Why? To perform any task, to perform the particular task. Okay, now this particular time interval you can give to your application by using the HTTP servlet, but you can't give this time interval by using the generic servlet. Okay, so now you get to know that when you have to use the generic and when you have to use the HTTP servlet, and what is the session. Is it clear to all of you? Then I will tell you how you can provide the time interval and how it is going to happen. Firstly, tell me, is it clear to all of you? What is the session? Then, okay, once again I will repeat that. No problem. So see, station means what? Station means it is one of the time interval. Okay, your particular programmer is going to give you the time in the minutes or in the seconds. Okay, so in that particular time, supposedly I will give you the 1 minute of time to respond my particular, to fill out my particular Google form. Okay, to fill out the Google form, I am going to give you the 1 minute of time. Within this 1 minute of time, if you fill that Google form, then okay, you can submit the form. Okay, and but if after this 1 minute, if you are trying to submit the form, you will get the message like session time. The another example for the SBI banking, it will give you the 15 minutes of time to complete your transaction or to perform any task. Either you can, within that 15 minutes, either you can change your mobile number, either you can link your PAN card, you can, what we are, any, you can check the transaction, totally your choice. So, but that particular task you have to perform within a 15 minutes of time. If you are going to perform that, if that time is going to extend, then you will get the message as session timeout. Then you will get the message as session timeout. Why? Because user is unable to perform this task within a given time limit. Within a given time limit. Okay, like your examination, if you are unable to submit the exam within a given time, then it will show that, okay, session time out, exam time out. So what will happen? Whatever the time duration is given by the user, you are unable to complete the task within that time duration. That's the reason you are getting the session timeout. And how user is going to give that, sorry, how programmer is going to give that session timeout to the user. So by using the session concept, by using the session concept, programmer can give that. Okay, so for this, firstly, programmer have to create the session, then programmer have to set the time interval, and all that steps are there. But before that, understand, time interval is nothing but it is a session. Session means your programmer is going to give the time interval for the user. That user have to perform the particular task within that time. Or else you can, another definition is session is nothing but time interval between the login and logout. Time interval between the login and logout. This session concept, this time interval, you can provide it to your application by using the HTTP servlet, but not by using the generic servlet. Is it clear now? Is it clear now? Okay, then now we will see that how you can create the session. Yeah, Gangaraj. So now we will see that how you can create this session. Just
లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ ఈ టైంలో ఇంకా ఉంది ఎదరికి వెళ్ళేది తగ్గింది కరెక్ట్గా ఆ టైంలో తగ్గింది. గ్లాస్ వేలు ఇవ్వలేదండి పోయిన సంవత్సరం తెచ్చుకోలేదంట. కొన్ని మంది వెళ్ళి పోయిన సంవత్సరం తగ్గిస్తున్నారు. ఇప్పుడు డైలీ 10 రూపాయలు అవుతున్నాయి డైలీ.
మరి అన్న ఫుడ్ అంటే పట్టుకోండి వెళ్ళేటప్పుడు వేస్తారు తీరిపోద్ది.
ఇప్పుడు సగం తయారు ఉన్నది మధ్య మంచిగా పోతే అన్నాడు. ఇక్కడ సాయిస్ ఉండదు అప్పుడు వేయాలి. అక్కడ ఏం చేస్తారు గణపతి గారిని చేస్తాను అవి ఇలా చందాలి కదా మరి.
బతిరుగుడు ఎందుకు రింగ్ ఎత్తున్నాడా నన్ను ఇచ్చాడు రింగ్. పొరపాటున ఇచ్చింది మళ్ళీ ఇందాక రింగ్ ఇచ్చాడు. నేను చేయలేదు. మళ్ళీ ఇంక డైరెక్ట్గా ఫోన్ చేసాడు నేను ఎత్తలేదు. అది ఆయన అడిగితే ఎలా బొమ్మద్ది చేసుకుంటావా లేదని ఎత్తుడు ఏం చెప్తాను.
చేసుకోవాలి అని చెప్పి ఇంట్లో ఉన్నామని చెప్పు.
ఫస్ట్ సారి బాగానే కాపాడిందారా. ఇప్పుడు బాగానే కాపాడింది.
Okay guys, done that. So now we are going to learn how you can create the session. So for this,
ఎండాకాలం చెప్తే మూతిలో కొద్దా
మూతిలా లోపల ఉంది. ఫస్ట్ సార్ మరి అలా ఎలా కాపాడింది నాకు అదే అందుకే నేను అందుకే వద్దాను. రెండోసారి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు అయితే ఇంకా.
so for this again we have to create one servlet class and all that things.
నన్ను అడిగాడు ఉన్నాయి కండిషన్.
So I will take the new example means you will get the clarity.
ఒక 3 సంవత్సరాలు అలాగా మాట్లాడుకుంటూ అలా ఉండి తర్వాత మాట్లాడదాం అనుకుంటున్నాను.
So here in this particular project I will create one HTML file, call it as login.
అది బాగానే ఉంటుంది.
Sorry, HTML and login.html. Okay, and then here
దాని మీద రెండోసారి దాని మీద గట్టి వెళ్ళండి ఏమన్నా ఉంటారులే జాగి అయిపోతాను. ఇన్ని తీసుకెళ్ళి జైల్లో పారేస్తారు అంతే అండర్వైర్ల కోసం.
okay, so create the form
అండర్వైర్లు ఆన్లైన్ దెబ్బేయండి అని చెప్తే
and then in this form create
కొట్టుకొచ్చి ఛార్జీ డబ్బులు తెస్తే 10 బ్యాగులు వస్తాయి కదా మీకు.
two input. So input,
ఎవరితో కాంప్రమైజ్ అవ్వాలో తెలదు.
close the input. Guys, perform along with me till this. Perform along with me. Whenever I will start the session, then stop your program. Okay, because now again I will check this in the table and all that things will happen. So it's better you will perform along with me. What is the need of font tag? Without the font tag, Gangaraju, you can't link the particular HTML file with the servlet class. So here username, password. It's better you will perform along with me, guys.
వేసుకున్నారా తెచ్చుకున్నారా ఇంటికే రాను.
And again I am going to create one document.
10 రూపాయలు మినపెడితే ఇల్లంతా మెయింటైన్ చేస్తానంటే
మిక్సింగ్ అందరూ
Okay. Then for this HTML file, create one class.
కొత్త పెళ్లి కొడుకులే
So in the Gmail, I will create one class. So here, student login.
పట్టింటోళ్ళు అలాగే పెట్టుకుంటారు
Yeah. Instead of this, no, I will create one student login form only. Leave it. Why again and again username and password? I will create here, enter the roll number. Means student is going to enter the roll number, and I will check whether that roll number is present or not. If that roll number is present, then student can log in the application. It's better way. Okay. So just I change here roll number. Now for this login.html, I will create one class. So class, and here what is the class name? Student login. Now in this HTML file, mention the method equals to post, and then here I will mention the student login servlet class name. Now extend the HttpServlet class. Then use the @web servlet annotation, double quotes, close the bracket, and here relative path. So student login.
వేసుకుంటే వచ్చిపోదా
Okay. Now first task is obviously fetch the user information. So fetch user info, so string roll number equals to. Go to the HTML file, give the name. For this input box, name equals to number and O. Here also, hey guys, is I'm forgetting anything? I skip one step, right? You are also not going to say me. Hey guys, is this program is correct or wrong? No, wrong. Why wrong? Correct. So here, override the do post method. Then after this, yeah, correct. Then after this, remove this super keyword, and now write your logic string roll number equals to req dot get parameter, and here and O. Then write the JDBC code. Okay, write the JDBC code.
అది బొక్క అవుతాం
Now what I will do here, firstly I am going to take the user information. Yeah guys, so the another purpose of the session is, the first purpose of the session is we can provide the time interval for the session, but the another purpose of the session is, in the session you can store, programmer can stored
ఫస్ట్ వేలో ఎప్పుడు వాడాను
user information temporary in a temporary manner. Programmer can store user information in temporary basis. Okay, means it is not like that every time you have to fetch the user information from the table only. Okay, it is not like that every time you have to fetch the user information from the table only. But instead of this, what I will do now, instead of this, as you know that your particular your particular database is present in the database server. Okay, your table is present in the database server and your particular program is present in the different server. So how you can page that? Then you are going to write the JDBC code again and again. So instead of that, what I will do, one time, only one time, user is going to registration for the application. While registering the application, I take the each and every information from the user. I store that user information in the table. Okay. Now what is my task? While logging into the application, user is going to enter either username or password, or here I am taking the roll number from the student. So whenever user is going to log in, for the login operation only and for the registration operation only, I am going to write the JDBC code. After once user is going to log in the application, what I will do, that time I am going to take the user information. Whatever the user information is present in the database, I will take that user information and I will store that user information into the session. Okay, ma'am, why you are doing like this? Because guys, if you store that at the time of login only, if you store that user information into the table, so supposedly after login, user want to update the mobile number, user want to update the username. That time again and again, no need of writing the particular JDBC code. Directly you can access that particular information from the session. Directly you can access that particular information from the session. Okay, here whenever you are going to access the user information from the session, then indirectly you are going to reduce the time of execution. Why? Because see, firstly you are going to reduce the code and then time of execution. How, ma'am? So simple, guys. Instead of writing this many JDBC code, just by writing 1 to 2 lines, you can access it. The second thing, instead of accessing the application, instead of accessing the user information from the table, directly you can access the user information within the server itself, right? Because session is present inside the server. So that's the reason you are going to store that user information inside the session. And if you are thinking, then ma'am, it will lead to a memory wastage. No, for each and every user we are going to create that store that user information. No, guys, in the database you are going to store the user information in a permanent basis, but in this session you are going to store the user information in a temporary manner. Means what? After logout, once user is going to log out from the application, that session will get destroyed. That session object no more present in your particular server. So it will not lead to the memory wastage, because session is going to store the user information in temporary basis. But coming towards the database, there it is a permanent. But by using the session, you can access the user information within a server itself, and How company will know while the login, while whenever you are going to log in the application, that time only I am going to take the user information. No, Manoj. That time only I am going to take the all user information. So automatically company will know that who is going to send the request and for which user I want to send that user information. Okay. So same task I'm going to do here now. Firstly, I'm going to write the JDBC code for the login operation. Means what? Whatever the roll number is entered by the user, I am going to check that roll number whether it is present in the table or not. If it is present in the table, then I am going to retrieve the each and every user information related to student, like the name of the student, marks of the student, as well as the particular stream of the student, mobile number of the student, each and every user information. I will retrieve that time only when user is going to enter the application, login inside the application.
నీకు పెళ్ళైనా సరే ఇంకా ఆసాడానికి పెట్టుకున్నా నేను నేను ఫీల్ అయ్యాను. కుళ్ళిపోతున్నాను, కుళ్ళిపోయి కుషించిపోతున్నాను నేను.
చేసి పెట్టే మనుషులు కాబట్టి Yes, Upendra. So now here, firstly, I will check whatever the roll number entered by the user, that particular roll number is present in your table or not. If it is present, then I will retrieve the student name as well as the percentage from the table. So go to the GJMH student roll number student. Okay, so go to the Eclipse. Quickly write down the JDBC code. So here string URL equals to JDBC MySQL local host local host colon 3306 user equals to root password equals to 12345. Then write the query string query equals to. Now I want to retrieve the each and every information. So select start from GJ8. Table name is student where roll number equals to placeholder. Okay. Then obviously firstly register the driver. So class dot for name and here com dot mysql dot gdbc dot driver. Okay. Then handle the exception. I am going in a fast way because each and everything you know, guys. So why to waste the time? And here just create the reference variable of exception. Then now what we are going to do here? Firstly establish the connection. Then driver manager. Call the get connection method. Pass the URL. Again create the platform. Prepare statement. Equals to
కొడవల పంపస్ కూడా వెళ్ళి చేస్తున్నారు
prepare
మారిపోతే అన్నీ ఒకసారి మారిపోతున్నాయి మారిపోతే కరెక్ట్గానే
connection dot prepare statement. Pass the query.
రెండు ఒకేసారి మారిపోయినాయి
Then set the value for the particular placeholder. Placeholder
ఏంటి మా మంచి
one.
చేయటండ్రా అది ఎలా
One, and I want to set the value as roll number. Okay, then after this execution of the query, so result set, create the reference variable, prepare
బైబిల్ నుంచి దాన్ని చేంజ్
statement, call the execute query. Now check whether record is present or not.
బైబిల్ మీ
If
ఉంటున్నాడా
at all,
పంపిస్తారు కదా
if at all, result set dot next. Done that. So now stop your particular program. Now concentrate over here.
జాయిగా సర్టిఫికేట్ అలా
Now what I have to do?
సర్టిఫికేట్ కావాలంటే నేను జాయిగా
If particular, if particular user is user login credential is present in the table. If particular student roll number is present in the table, so firstly I want to retrieve student information from the database, from the table. So can you tell me how I can retrieve the student information from the table? Which methods I have to use for that?
స్పాట్లో పని 10,000 ఇవ్వగలిగా అంటే
Yeah, correct. So firstly I want to retrieve the name. So student name. Okay. And then here I will call the set string method. Get string method. So here get string, and for this pass your column name. So column name is
నెంబర్ మీ దగ్గర ఫోన్ చేసి
student name. Okay.
అరే సార్ మనం నర్సరీ
So column name is
అది 2000 అందరికి కాగితం మీద నేను అది
student
కాగితం
name.
నాకు
Then I want to retrieve the percentage. So string percent equals to result set dot get
చేయరా నేను మాట్లాడతాను ఎలాగ నీ సెల్తోని
string
నేను మాట్లాడతాను
and pass here column name,
ఏమై అందరికి
that is percentage. So guys, why I am going to retrieve this particular user student information? Because supposedly in the further classes, in the further operations, if your students wants to get the book from the library, then I want the student name, roll number as well as percentage. If students want to see the particular percentage, then that time I want the percentage of the student. So every time, instead of writing the JDBC code, what I will do now, here whenever user is going to log in the application, that time itself I will take all the data from the table and I will store that data into the session object. Means I can access that particular data within a server only, and I can reduce the time execution. So after retrieving the student information, I am going to store this student information into the thank you. So I am going to store this user information into the session object. So if you want to store that into the session object, for that firstly you have to create the session object, right? So I am going to create the session object now. Here I am going to create the session object. If your user information is present, then only I will create the session object. So now, how to create the session object? So guys, whenever you want to create the session object, that time we are taking the help of HTTP session interface. That time we are taking the help of HTTP session interface, which is present in a Java X.Servlet package, which is present in a Java X.Servlet package. So create the reference variable of this HTTP session interface, and to create the object of the session now. To create the object of the session, we are using the get session method. We are using the get session method, which is present in a HTTP servlet request, which is present in a HTTP servlet request interface. Why we are using this get session method? To create the particular session object, and then we are going to store that session object into the particular session reference variable. So now this get session method created one session object. Okay. So, and this session object we are going to store inside this HTTP session reference variable. Now, whenever you are going to create the session object, in this particular session object, some non-static methods are there. What are that method? So, first non-static method is there, call it as set attribute method. Okay. First non-static method is present in this object, call it as set attribute method. Next method is present, call it as set max inactive interval time. Okay. And the third and last method is present. No, many methods are there. That is get attribute method. Okay. After this, the next method, the last method is present, call it as invalidate method. So this each and every method we are going to learn what is the purpose of each and every method. We will see that one by one. But first we learn how you can create the session object. So by using the get session method, you are going to create the session object. This get session method is present in a HTTP servlet request interface. And then after creation of this object, we are going to store that object into this session reference variable. Okay. And remember guys, this object is present on the server only. Okay. Now what is my task? What is my task is there? My task is simple. Whatever the student information I retrieve over here from the table, now I want to store this particular user information inside this session object. I want to store this particular user information inside this session object. So how I will do that? Simple thing guys. Whenever if you want to store the user information into the session object, okay, to store user info into session object, we are taking the help of set attribute method. We are taking the help of set attribute method, which is present in a HTTP session, which is present in a HTTP session interface, and which is present in a particular session object also. So here use the session reference variable and call the set attribute method. Why we are using this set attribute method? So to add or to store the user information into the particular method. into the particular object. Now this set attribute method is going to accept the two arguments. Okay, it is going to accept first argument as an identifier. Okay, it is going to accept first argument as an identifier. Means what, ma'am? So guys, now here I am going to store the student name, right? So if you want to store the student name in your yes, Upendra. Return type of the getString method is a HTTP session. Okay, so here this student name I want to store in a session object, and in future if I want to access this student name, so that's the reason for this student, for this user information which I want to store in the particular session object, for that user information I am going to give the identifier. So here I am going to give the identifier as a SN. Second argument we are going to pass for this method which user information you want to store. So I want to store the student name. Again now for the percent also we are going to do the same thing, nothing but call the set attribute method by using the session HTTP session reference variable. Firstly pass the identifier for this which user information you are going to store in the session object. So I am going to store the student percentage, that's the reason SP. Then second argument pass what is the value you want to store. So I want to store the percent as a value in the session object. After performing this step guys in this session object, now your particular name of the student is present and the identifier for this name of the student is SN. Then percentage of the student is also present and the identifier of this particular student percent is SP. Means in future if you want to retrieve this name and percent from the session object, then you can retrieve that name by using this SN identifier, or you can retrieve the percentage by using the SP identifier. And the last thing, nothing but how you can give the time interval for this session. If credentials are the correct, then to giving this time interval, you can use one thing. You can give time interval for session. We are using one method called it as session dot set max inactive interval. This method we are using to provide the time interval for your session object for your application. Means within that particular given time interval only user have to perform the task. Okay. Now here for this set max inactive interval, we have to pass the values in a second format. So here I am going to pass the 60 seconds means 1 minute. Means that particular session is validate for the 1 minute. That particular session is validate for the 1 minute. Okay. So guys, remember here just for my understanding purpose, what I will do, I will print the statement. Firstly, retrieve information. Then here give the another statement that creation of session object, then for the means whether that step is going to perform or not, stored user info into session object, and last one is time interval is given to session. Okay. Now, if your particular roll number is not present, then normal request dispatcher. Okay. Dispatcher equals to req.get request dispatcher pass here login.html and here dispatcher dot request response. Okay. And after creation of this, if your particular roll number is present over there, then here I want to show the logout HTML page to the user. We will see that, but just have patience. Till that time, firstly we are going to see whether that object is get created, that particular user information gets stored in the session object, and we provided the in
అది మంచిదండి. కాకపోతే ఏంటంటే వాళ్ళు చేసేదంతా మేము ఇంజనీరింగ్ చదివిన దానికి డెఫరెంట్ అండి. ఇది ఇంజనీరింగ్ చదివిన
just save it. Interval time for this session. Now just execute this program. And guys, after performing the program, please don't leave the class. I want to announce something in the class. Now guys, here enter the valid roll number. So valid roll number 104. Done. 104. And click on submit. Go to the Eclipse. Is you are able to see that we retrieve the user information from the table. We created the session object. We stored that user information into the session object, and we gave the time interval for the session also. So this all things how we perform, nothing but already just you have to use few lines of code and you can perform it. So guys, this is all about how you can create the session, how you can give the time interval, as well as how you can store the user information in the session. How to use that user information which is present in the session, we will see in the further classes. But till that time, just remember to create the session object. When we are going to create the session object, if your user enters the valid login credentials that time only. So here I am going to create the session object by using the get session method. I stored that session object into the HTTP session reference variable. In that particular session object, many methods are present like set attribute, get attribute, set max, inactive interval, as well as your inactivate method, invalidate method. Each and every method we will learn that. But before that, we will see how you can store whatever the student information you retrieve from the table, how you can store that user information inside the session. So for that, we are using the set attribute method, guys. Okay, and which is present in a session object. For this set attribute method, firstly we are going to pass the identifier. Okay, which user information you are going to store in that particular session object. For that user information, we are going to pass the identifier. Then we are going to pass the which value you want to store in that object. Okay. After that, to give the time interval for this session, we are using the setMax inactive interval method, which is present in your session object. And then this particular method accepts the argument in a second. So you can pass the argument in a second format. Okay guys, now tell me, is it clear to all of you how you can perform, how you can create the session? Is it clear to all of you? Today is the last day. Okay, I will extend that class. Don't worry. I will extend this. I will extend the class. Guys, please take the screenshot of this code. After the class, just try this code. Okay, firstly take the screenshot and tomorrow I will give you the notes, and just wait for a while. I want to announce something. Firstly take the screenshot. Yeah, only pass. You can pass only seconds. Right, check. No, that time means Venkatesh, you passed the wrong file name for the request dispatcher. Guys, quickly take the screenshot.
ఇప్పుడు దాని వాల్యూ పెరిగిద్దంటే తీసుకోవడం పెరగదంటే మానేస్తామని అలాగే ఉంటారు అలా ఎందుకు కొంటారు రాత్రి బాగా ఇదే ఇదైతే ₹10 పావులకే కావాలంటుంది ఇది వీటికి రేటుగానే పెట్టదు అందరి రేటు కూడా పెట్టదు తక్కువ కావాలి ఈ పైన ఉన్నారు కదా ఈ పైన ఆ పైన సరిహద్దులు ఉన్నారు కాబట్టి ఇలా అలా ఎవరో కొనుక్కుంటారు కొనుక్కోవడం ఏమి ఉండదు ఇప్పుడు అక్కడ ఎంత కొంచెం 3 లక్షలు
Then directly you can store that responses in the database, Upendra.
ఇప్పుడు మనం తీసుకుంటే ఎంత ప్లేస్ ఉంటుంది అది ఎంత అవుతుంది 3 లక్షలు అవుతుంది 3 లక్షలు అడిగే చంద్రని అడిగి ఎంత రేటు ఉందంటే 3 లక్షలు ఉందా మరి మీరు అమ్మేసుకుని డబ్బులు ఇచ్చేయండి అని అందామా ఏంటి ఆలోచించి చెప్పు నువ్వు చెప్పు మనం ఊరుకున్నా 8 నెలలు రావు ఇంకా అవడం ఓడిపోతే అలా ఉంటుంది అందుకే రావాలంటే కాపలా కాయ కూర్చోవాలి కాపలా కాయ కూర్చొని కూర్చుదానికి ఎక్కడ కూర్చుంటాం ఎక్కడంటే కూర్చుని అలా వాళ్ళ ఏదైనా కడదాము అంటే మన వాళ్ళ పెద్ద ప్లాస్టిక్ పీటలు ప్లాస్టిక్ చిన్న గిన్నెలు ప్లాస్టిక్ పెద్ద గిన్నెలు సామాన్ల కొట్టలు మా బండిగా అమ్ముతున్నారు
Is it done, guys? Is everyone took the screenshot? Tomorrow we will see that how we can retrieve the user information from this session. But before that, guys, you have to give the feedback. So just quickly open this link tinyurl.com/qspjsp feedback. Quickly open this link tinyurl.com/qspjsp feedback and fill this form. Each and everyone has to fill this form. box also, fill this form. Is it working? Check whether it is working. Quickly check whether this link is working or not. Is it working, guys?
అనే ఎక్కడున్నావు?
Okay.
నా దగ్గర ఉన్నాయి, దాంట్లో ఉన్నాను అని.
Then quickly submit the form. Okay. You can leave the class, guys. Bye bye. Have a nice day. Take care. Stay safe. Bye bye, guys.